Let's talk to let's talk to Jodie Rocco, one of the twins who were the backup singers in Milli Vanilli. We've already talked about that at length, so we just like having her on because she has a lot of opinions and she's a fun guest on the radio. And we're going to talk to her. She's in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we're talking about July 4th and her thoughts on it. Thanks for joining me, Jodie.
Thank you for having me, Adam.
So what was July 4th like for you growing up?
Well, my father was in the military,
Mm-hmm.
so he was a career Army man. So depending on where we lived in the world, whether it was in Hawaii or Europe or in the United States, that depended on what we did for July 4th. Germany was a little bit different. We would go to Ramstein and watch the planes and, you know, do some other things that were more conducive to being overseas. Hawaii, again, was a little bit different because we were in the middle of the ocean. So, you know, we went to Pearl Harbor or we went to one of the other bigger bases. We were in Schofield and Fort Shafter. So it was just a little bit different everywhere we went.
Gotcha. What's it like being on a military base? True details about me. I was born on a military base, Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas, but my dad was done with the military before I was even a year old, so it was not a major part of my growing up. But I imagine there's a lot of patriotic sentiment. I don't know if you have parades of veterans, because would they really be at a military base if they were already retired? But was there
Well, again, it depends on where you are. In Germany, you might not have as many veterans as you would if you were stationed in Fort Gordon in Augusta, where my father was stationed for 2 years, because some people, you know, they might retire in that area. So it wasn't so much that, but I loved living on the military base. I felt safe every time I loved it. I loved the military life. I was 23 when my father retired from the military. It's a fantastic life. You make of it what you will, okay? If we went to Germany, my mother learned to speak German. She spoke many different languages, including Arabic fluently because she's Lebanese. She was Lebanese. Yes, I'm half Italian, half Lebanese.
Oh, I did.
So
my mother know that.
Yeah, my mother spoke fluent Arabic. She probably spoke Arabic before she spoke English because when her family came here, they didn't speak very well, the English language very well, but they learned because they knew, you know, back in the 1800s when my grandparents came over in the latter part of the 1890s and settled here in the United States. They did what immigrants do. Exactly. They learned the languages. My mother spoke English when she was outside, never spoke Arabic because you were American and you spoke English. That was the sentiment back in the day. And, of course, when the war came around and everybody was poor, including my parents and their prospective families were very, very poor. But my mother's side of the family, and my father's side actually, but my mother's side said, you know, welfare's for poor people. We have something to eat. They don't. So, you know, when you have 7 kids, my father's one of 16. You know.
One of 16 kids? Wow.
One of 16, yeah. It was
the old
a huge family.
Italians. Yeah, wow. 16,
well,
wow.
you know, and no TV and, you know, but no, the military life was fantastic. Yeah, my poor grandmother, exactly.
I have a dumb question I got to ask as a female growing up on a base. When you're in, like, high school and you have all these handsome young men who are all fit on the base living around you, what's that like?
Well, you know, it's a whole different life because they would have a lot of problems with that, with their commanding officer, with, you know, it just didn't happen. We were off limits. Literally,
you don't mess
around as
with that.
young, you don't mess around with that. If I at one point when we were living in Germany, I was 18 and I got into a bar brawl. I don't want to say that too loud. It wasn't even, I was sitting at a table and, anyway, the owner of the club was not a very nice woman and she came up and she whacked me on the side of my head with a big military flashlight. She was a German woman. And yeah, I got up and I grabbed a beer bottle and I went after her. When I went to the hospital on the military base in Kaiserslautern, my father was notified at that moment. His commanding officer had him in the office the next day. If that happened in real life outside of the military base, if this is what actually happened every single time a child got into trouble, even at 18, because you are responsible for your dependents.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I ended up winning this legal battle because she should never have touched me.
Of course. All right, let's get back to July 4th and the state of the country. Before, I want to give you the last few minutes to talk about, your background's music and the best July 4th songs. But any thoughts about what's going on with Trump? I guess they're going after him now because of his tweet with pro wrestling. I mean, they'll try anything. I mean, I know you have an opinion.
Well, my only problem with that is that they didn't use Body Slam from Milli Vanilli, because our B-side was Body Slam. That's what I sent that to you, and it's like, oh my God. Body Slam is Yeah, well, the name of the tweet was he body slammed somebody. I thought it was hilarious. I mean, look, it's okay for everyone else to call this man every name in the book 24/7. When he fights back, if you corner somebody like him, be prepared. He's not just going to sit back and take it, and he shouldn't. I wouldn't. You wouldn't. Why would he? And they know what he's like. They know what kind of response he's going to give. They know exactly what's going to happen, and yet they still prod this man. He's the president of the United States. Leave him alone. Let him do his job. 65 million people voted for this man, or more, because we're not sure. And now with the whole voter fraud thing and states refusing to give information, take the fifth, you kind of look guilty, okay?
Mm-hmm. Did you catch this story, by the way?
Which one?
In San Diego, not that far from you, there was an impeach Trump party, and the Trump supporters crashed it and drowned out the speakers with USA chants. I figured you'd like that one if you hadn't heard about it yet.
Well, I didn't hear about that one, but I have heard about other ones where, because as a rule, conservatives, Republicans, and that kind of ilk are not destructive, disastrous, going, smashing windows with masks on. That's not, we're not, known for that. That's not what we do. We don't destroy property. We don't shoot guns in the air at marches. And it's not a destructive type of thing. So to see these people starting to fight back, I think others should take note.
Certainly.
That this revolution has just begun.
Yep, or counter-revolution, as the case may be. Okay, we have only a couple minutes left, and I want to talk to you about the best songs for 4th of July. I was at a karaoke bar, as I often am right around now.
I know, I watched it.
I did ROCK in the USA, and hopefully I won't have a reason to do Blame It on the Rain, and the fireworks here in Florida won't get ruined. It is an issue in summer in Florida. But ROCK in the USA for beloved. I know Mellencamp is a little left to center, but man, people like that song. But what are your picks for best 4th of July song? And don't say Born in the USA, because we know what that song's really about.
I don't like Bruce Springsteen. I never did. I don't own any of his music, so that would never be something for me. I'm more traditional. I like the Star-Spangled Banner because of the story behind it and what happened that night and why Francis Scott Key was actually there at that moment. Most people don't even know why he was even on the boat.
So let's explain it then.
Well, he was on the boat because there was a doctor, William Burns, or Barnes or something like this. Anyway, he had some British soldiers that he graciously allowed to use his home, even though America was free at the time, 40 years after the independence. He let them use his home. Somehow or another, he got tangled up in some legal whatever it was, and they threw him in the brig on a ship. Really? Francis Scott Key is an attorney, and he represented Dr. Burns, or Barnes, don't quote me on his name, and he actually had letters from British soldiers who said, hey, he saved me, he helped me, he did this. So he got him out. He got him out of jail. But because they were bombing Fort Henry, and that's where this brig was, they threw him in the brig on a ship. They had to stay on that ship until the bombing was over. And the next morning, when at the dawn's early light and the flag was still there, he saw that. He was literally on that boat and looked at it. And if you look, and the story of him with the people holding the flag, that's a body. Those are bodies of people. Because if the flag was still there, they won.
Nice.
Those were bodies holding up that flag, not a pole.
We are almost out of time. Who would have thought you would get a July 4th history lesson? I don't know if that occurred on July 4th with that from Jodie Rocco of Milli Vanilli. Where else can you get that but Backlash on Shark Nation Radio? Jodie, real quick, if you want to mention any other songs or tell people how to follow you real quick.
God Bless America. God Bless America, Celine Dion, the way she sang it, Star-Spangled Banner, the way Cher did it, and the way Whitney Houston did it. Cher sang the Star-Spangled Banner at the opening of the Super Bowl. That was phenomenal.
I'll look that one up. How about Marvin Gaye, NBA All-Star Game? I'm a big fan of that one.
I saw that one, too. That's also excellent. Yes.
He may have been coked out of his mind, but it was a great version.
But it was, it was very, very good. Yes, you can reach me on Facebook. I'm Jodie Rocco, JODIE, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Twitter. And I also have at Milli Vanilli on Twitter and The Real Milli Vanilli on Facebook.
All right, Jodie Rocco, happy July 4th. Thanks for coming on.
Happy July 4th to you.